Alright, y'all, this is the official UFC 5 presentation trailer. And we're both gonna watch it together for the first time. And let's see what EA Sports... let me look at the comments real quick. Good to see all the new animation models we're going to see for next year. It's the only way they will learn. Don't spend a dime on this game. Well, that looked horrible. We should strike this until they lower the price. Doesn't look anywhere near $70. Crazy. This got me hoping ONE FC makes a game that isn't developed by EA. Oh shit. The comments right now. This looks terrifyingly similar to UFC 4. Alright, the comments are negative so far. I'm seeing so far. Well, what do you expect? It's EA Sports, right? What do you expect? Alright, let's just watch it.
The presentation in EA Sports UFC 5.
No, but I know I'm pausing a lot, but if you guys go back and watch play UFC Undisputed 3, I'm telling you, that game was so fun. It was so good. It was... But anyways, all right, let me stop talking.
Elevates the series to a more authentic experience, powered by the Frostbite engine. Players
Frostbite.
Hear and feel why UFC 5 is as real as it gets.
Okay, let me go back to this. This is one thing I do not like about EA Sports and their games, right?
And feel why UFC
Let me show you.
5 is as real as it gets.
Like, you see Derek Lewis hitting his chest, right? It doesn't look like he has like it's alive. Like, it just looks like he's just hitting his chest. But okay, it's like normally he hits it and you know he has like animated. You know what I mean? Like what is that? Like, what is that?
Gorgeous shot to end the fight right there.
Welcome to the deep dive into the presentation of EA Sports UFC 5. Let's take a look at the features that creates UFC 5's new presentation, including the Frostbite engine, visual effects, new in-game cinematics, advanced fighter likeness, cinematic KO replays, and authentic finishes. My name is I'm a Boxer, a part of the design council for UFC 5 and an EA Sports UFC content creator. I was able to interview EA's art director of UFC 5.
I don't like EA Sports at all. I don't like EA Sports.
Kurt Gibbons, to explain the new presentation and how it will impact the user experience.
I would say the first thing you're going to see that's going to be impactful and players are going to feel is our walkout. We have new dynamic lighting with Frostbite engine.
Frostbite.
It's the whole presentation, lighting and rendering and new player and our update of players is just amazing. During production, we were comparing real life UFC presentation with our game, and it was hard to tell the difference. Comparing.
Why is his head so big? Like, what the fuck is this?
Real life UFC.
Usman doesn't dance like that. He never dances like that.
New player and our update of players.
I never see Usman doing that. Like, he's never done that before.
It's just amazing. We were
EA Sports, man.
Comparing real life UFC presentation with our game, and it was hard to tell the difference. So I think that's something that fans are gonna love of the game. Once you get in, I think again you're gonna see the players, the fighters looking amazing with all of our new lighting and rendering technology and our strand-based hair. And then once you get into the fight and see all the impact with damage, I just think it's going to be incredible, and all that stuff we couldn't have done before.
With hands,
I just hope they fix the buttons. The way the buttons in UFC 4 is so stupid. Like, it's so stupid. Uppercut is stupid. I just hope they change that.
Experience with the game. Once you get deep into the fight and both fighters are damaged, you feel that real impact system. As a whole, that's when you experience the next level of immersion.
Yeah, I mean, I love how you said as a whole, because again, all the team work together, from audio team, lighting and rendering, art team, presentation and camera team. We all work together to try to create really powerful game experiences for UFC.
Frostbite introduces a new fluid physics and particle system. How will this enhance the user's gameplay experience?
So with Frostbite, we get our new particle
Fluid
system
physics.
called the Emitter and that's a GPU VFX system, allowing us to render individual particles of blood and sweat. What's really neat too is that the blood will land onto the mat, and you're actually going to see the blood build up over time. So we couldn't have done that.
That's not something that we should be excited about. It's a fighting game. Of course, you're supposed to have the blood spill on the mat. It's not. That's the thing about EA. It's like just like Madden. We introduced Sapient technology. So now everyone has a certain type of build or some stuff like that. Like it's a fighting game. You're supposed to already had that. What is it? UFC 5? That's now you want to add blood spilling on the mat.
Previously, and you're going to see just beautiful particles with blood and sweat across the game, and it's all dynamic and builds up during the game based on your damage or how much you've been sweating, how long the fight goes.
That's what this. That's what
captured the blood.
That's what what's it called?
At the location where the damage actually occurred. So
Clean mats to start. That's what we're supposed to be excited about. Clean mat to start. It's not something that you should be present. It's not something you should be present to us. A clean mat to start.
Have a completely different mat from when you started, telling a story about what happened during that fight, and it adds to that gameplay experience.
Yeah, that Boxer, that's so awesome to hear that you felt that way, because that was actually our intent, and we actually talked about the story of the map. Based on actually making you feel like there was fights previous to the fight that you're in, and then again the damage that occurs during the fight, it builds up both on the player but also on the map, and there is a story there, and that also gets backed up by our commentary and audio as well. So it's really a holistic experience that is very powerful, and it's I think it's going to make us as developers feel really good that you felt that when you played.
Okay, players always talk about the importance of making strikes feel more realistic and impactful when they land. How does the Frostbite engine in UFC 5 help address this concern?
So again, this is really a holistic approach from the team. We all work together to try to make impact as powerful as possible for our players. So the first thing is animation. With animation, we worked all of our striking animations, as well as within Frostbite.
Is that a new animation?
And procedural animation, which just an animation itself makes it feel more powerful. But then we also reworked our facial deformation system, which again makes it feel better when you impact another player, another fighter. Also, again, we talked about our visual effects, so you get that upon impact. And then our audio, which we added new audio with more crunching effects and that sort of thing to really make the whole system more powerful and impactful. And I think when you play,
I would say the lighting. I will give them that. The lighting looks good.
Really make the
and all that stuff. But is the gameplay good? Did you guys fix the ground game and all the stuff like that? Like the clinch? Did you guys fix all that stuff?
The whole system more powerful and impactful. And I think when you play, you really feel it again with all of our blood and particles all summing up into just a great, powerful experience for impact.
In UFC 4, we had some great character models, but in UFC 5, it takes it to a completely new level. How has the Frostbite engine improved fighter likeness in UFC 5?
Yeah, so that is something we put a huge amount of effort into. Again, obviously the fighters of UFC.
See, like the graphics is better. I'll give them that. That's the thing about EA Sports. They when it comes to graphics, they're good at that. But it's the gameplay. That's what we care about. They're really good at graphics.
Are the center of the game, and we made some amazing improvements. Like if you were to compare UFC 4 models to UFC 5 models,
see,
it's strikingly
it's different
improved and better.
It's improved.
So one of the big things that we did is brought in a new strand-based hair system, and what you'll see in terms of the player movement is how the hair is lit so much more realistic and moves so much more realistic while you're playing, and it made a huge difference. Also, if you look at the lighting and rendering, we also have something called the dual lobe shader that affects skin and how sweat and blood rolls across the skin. We put a huge amount of effort into the skin of the fighters to make it feel more realistic and believable. Finally, less about frostbite, but more again about the attention and care that our art team put into these fighters, is we work the geometry and the texture detail with every fighter. So all those things sum up to be really, really powerful. The last point that we, all those things sum up to be really, really powerful. The last point that we did that again makes our fighter likeness stronger than UFC 4 and previous UFC games is we have a technology called Shapeshifter, which allows us to modify the bodies to again try to be closer to the real likeness of a fighter. So all together, just a really, really great work by our character team to create amazing likenesses for UFC 5. And I hope our players are going to love it. I think they will.
Hopefully we do.
When we talk about new in-game cinematics for UFC 5, can you highlight some of the notable improvements since UFC 4?
With the walkouts, you're actually going to see 3 new things that make our walkouts more authentic than ever in UFC 5. So the first thing is our face rig system. So we have a new facial animation system that allows us to have more detail and subtle human animation, which you'll see throughout the walkout. The second thing is frostbite cameras. So we are using frostbite cameras that has a more realistic camera lens, and along with new cameras themselves and new editing, putting that all together into a really powerful.
What's up with EA Sports obsessed with this frostbite shit? Like, why don't they put all these extra what's the word I'm looking for? Effort into the gameplay? Like, why?
Experience. The third thing that I think again you're going to see is the dynamic lighting and all the lighting and rendering throughout the walkout. So again, that goes back to the player likeness and the skin and how light moves across the skin. And finally, I guess the whole choreography of the whole experience with the dynamic lights. So we're turning lights off and on, and all true to the authentic experience of the UFC walkout. I love them. I'm super proud of what we accomplished for those walkouts for UFC 5.
The new cinematic replay system in UFC 5 really stands out. I know the content creators are going to enjoy making some amazing thumbnails from the replay system. Can you talk about what has improved about the cinematic replay system since UFC 4?
Yeah, so I have to say I love our cinematic knockout replays. I think it turned out to be kind of the perfect blend between cinematic cameras and procedural dynamic cameras. So we couldn't have done it without frostbite. So we're using dynamic frostbite cameras that will dynamically compose depending on the action. Furthermore, that we have in UFC 5 that we didn't have in UFC 4 is we actually have knowledge of the action in the replay. So we know whether it's a right fist or a left fist, whether it's a right kick or a left kick, and we know where it hits. And due to that, we're able to place the cameras to be the most compelling and the most dramatic. Add to that, we put a lot of work into our slow motion replay in terms of getting our strikes and animation to work smoother through slow motion.
I won't lie, Sean O'Malley looks smooth in this game. They got Sean O'Malley right in this game, bro. Down to the T. They got everything down right. The tattoos and everything.
In terms of getting our strikes and animation to work smoother through slow motion, as well as all of our simulation, which is hair and clothing, we updated that. And then finally, again, our blood and sweat particles, along with a few kind of really cool custom blood particles just for that next-gen knockout replay moment.
Another feature new to the presentation in UFC 5 are authentic finishes. Can you talk about some of the ways a fight can end differently in UFC 5 than it could in UFC 4?
So one of the ways I think is like super exciting, emotionally compelling is doctor stoppages. So again, that ties into our damage system.
So it took UFC Doctor stoppages were in UFC 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When THQ was making the game, they had doctor stoppages. What was it in? Was it Undisputed 2? They had it in 2. It took them 2 years. I think they even had it in the first one. I can't remember. They probably had it in the first one, most likely. But it took you guys five games to be able to.
In the art, we actually have 8 regions for cuts, swelling, and bruising, and we have 5 levels of progression for that. I think one of our rendering engineers came up with the math, and we have about 64,000 possible combinations that you could run into. So as you are damaging your opponent, at some point the damage level will get to a place where the doctor will come in and stop the fight and check you out. And in that presentation, again, new because of Frostbite in UFC 5, is we have some dynamic camera presentation. We have 6 areas we focus the camera on for the damage, and there you're going to see really good views of the cuts and the blood and the bruising and the swelling. And then again, the game will analyze how much damage you have taken, and then the doctor will decide, hey, let's continue the fight, or we'll stop the fight.
Doctor stoppages are more than presentation. They are now a part of the strategy. You can be behind in a fight, but your opponent could be severely damaged in a specific area which you can target. So even when behind, you still can create a direct path to victory.
Yeah, and I mean, it looks great, but I think what's also cool is, like you kind of alluded to, is there's a new level of strategy that we didn't used to have from a gameplay perspective. So again, visuals and gameplay.
I hope they fixed the ground game. The ground game in US4 is so bad, man. It was so bad.
With all of the presentation and animation updates, along with the new audio effects, rendering, and lighting, also with Frostbite elevating the overall gameplay experience, I'm more than excited for the release of UFC 5. See you in the Octagon.
Okay. See you guys in the Octagon. See you guys in the Octagon, UFC 5. We're definitely going to be playing that game. Definitely going to be playing some UFC.